Alright guys, we got a 45 Challenger with a 3116 mechanical in it. I put two high bay lights in here, but still kind of the I-beam and stuff here is kind of blocking some of the light because it's kind of, we're not going to start it up and move it ahead. Either that, I drug it in here with my service truck and had a heck of a time getting it in the door. Alright, so these engines here, I'm not floating my boat, I'm not bragging, but there's a lot of guys that don't work on these. 31.6 mechanicals, 31.14, 31.16, the 31.26 mechanical. These have a rack kind of like a Detroit, and I have all the special tools. The only reason I work on these, and I used to work on a lot of these, we had like 10 or 11 of these things at the Strawberry Nursery I used to work for. And I've worked on these things a ton, guys. What you got here is this, basically the injectors are doing all the work. There's a rack, there's special tools to synchronize the injectors, all the dial indicate, everything you do on the rack and everything you do on the injectors, everything you do on the valve lash is set with a dial indicator with a special fixture group. I've got the old mechanical setup. A lot of guys have the newer style set up with a dial indicator, with a digital stuff. Mine's all mechanical. We won't get into that just yet. Right now, what we got to do is get it apart. These guys did this. They're bringing the fuel. I said they got a bunch of mechanics over there, and I think they saw that the once they saw the injector synchronization and stuff and all that stuff in the book, they said, "Oh shit, we don't want to mess with that." So they hauled it over here. What happened is this thing got hot. It got so hot, they had a rookie on it, and this rookie, he ran it out of water. So he got it so steaming hot that it split this hose here. And anyways, it started pumping water out of the turbo. We're going to have to check the turbo out. It obviously had water going through it. And if it went through the turbo, that means it went through the exhaust. And that means it went through down on top of piston. So head gasket or cylinder head. But these engines they're kind of, I don't know, once you get used to them, they're not that complicated. A lot of guys, like, they'll see that rack synchronization and all that stuff you got to set with the dial indicator, and they don't want nothing to do with them. But you know me, I'll work on just damn near anything. I like these 3116s. I think they were great engines, just wonderful engines. I like these. The 3126 was the predecessor basically to the 3126B. The B's when they went to the Huey, which I hate them. I hate those Huey piles of junk. I think that's when Cat went off the rails with all their small displacement engines, when they went to that Huey crap. Anyways, that's my opinion. They're kind of like them Power Strokes, which, it's just more problems, If the oil's really cold and it's thick, they don't want to start, and they're just problematic. There's more places to leak internally that will cause more fuel problems on them. These things here ran forever, until you got them hot and blew them up. But you'll see that there's a little clip right here. This pump basically is a glorified, it's got an AF air-fuel ratio on it too. This your fuel shut-off solenoid right here. But you'll see back here there's a clip, and it basically, that runs the rack. And you give it the throttle. So I'll show you that all here shortly. I'm going to get one of them light stands and put up here just so we can all see a little better. I don't think it's got much water left in it. You really got to screw up pretty good to smoke one like this on a 3116 mechanical. They're pretty damn tough. A 3116 mechanical, the parts are readily available aftermarket, and engine parts are. What's that outfit called? CPD Cats? I don't know. I can't remember. I used to get parts from them all the time. I don't work on a lot of cat stuff anymore. Just getting a lot of these Challengers still around. So yeah, the other thing is the TD25Gs that I tore apart, you know, and made the videos on and all that stuff. Well, the guy kind of threw his hands up and got tired of the Forest Service inspection criteria, and he just said to hell with them. I ain't dealing with you guys' bullshit anymore. Well, as you know, there's so many fires in the state of California. They're basically begging him now to come back. And they're going to waive all the inspection criteria because they need him so bad. So he calls me the other day. I need to get them cats together. I said, are you shitting me? He said, what? I said, I've got a million things going on. I've got so many irons in the fire that I'm already committed to. I can't just leave those guys because you sat on it all summer and didn't do nothing. He's a damn good customer, but my gosh, man, what do you expect me to do? All I can tell you is, you know, I'll get there as soon as I can, or you're going to have to find somebody else. I can't treat other people like that, you know. These guys are already scheduled and everything to do this kind of stuff. It ain't fair to them, I know that. And he's one of my best customers, and I don't want to burn my bridge with him, but gee whiz, you know. One of those deals where you got to plan ahead a little bit better. I like these Challengers because I can set everything right here on the track. Kind of keep it off the floor. It's kind of nice. I kind of miss working on these things all the time. I really do. I really like these 45s and 55 Challengers. It's back when Cat was a little bit more involved with the process, you know. I mean, they're kind of like the cab is kind of like a New Holland cab. I don't know. Somehow New Holland got in on it too, because that cab's the same as like an 8770, same damn cab. So somehow they got involved in it too. Oh, come on. Been trying to upload a video for 2 days now. Last night I got done with rendering one and editing it and all that stuff, and doing the higher quality of videos takes a lot longer because our internet's slow. So I got up this morning and I just let it upload. What I'll do is I'll put it on unlisted, and then when I get up in the morning I'll monetize it and all that stuff and put the commercial breaks in there, and then sometimes I don't even do that. I just upload it and go to bed, and then I'll monetize it in the morning after it's got 4,000 or 5,000 views. But it just depends on what's going on. Anyhow, got up this morning and said it failed the upload. Well, I had a service call or two this morning, so I let it do it again. I came back and it said it did it again. It failed the upload again. I thought, well, you piece of shit. And so I said, hell, I got internet down here at the shop. I'll just bring it down here. So I tried it 3 or 4 times down here, and for some reason, the internet down here is through a different company, but every time you answer the landline phone, if it's producing, it stalls it, then it won't go anymore. I finally said, piss on it. I'll do it tonight when I get home. I have a lot of guys ask me why these guys use track machines a lot. I will say that one thing for certain, I know from experience that nothing pulls. I mean, a wheel tractor, I haven't seen a wheel tractor be able to pull with one of these, you know. A lot of your wheel tractors, if you get your flotation set up right, a lot of guys used to use a lot of, in the old days, thought that calcium was the answer and weights were a lot. It does help, but guys have figured out throughout the years that, you know what helps even more? The air in your tires and how you run them. A lot of guys, for more traction, they'll let the air out of the tires, you know, and they'll run 10, 15 psi, and they'll look like the sidewalls will be bulging on them and stuff. They'll pull a lot better, but they won't pull as good as these. And the other thing is, the biggest reason the strawberry guys like them and the potato guys like them is flotation. It's really supposed to help with soil compaction because you're spread out. You don't have as much displacement on the ground. You can tell a farmer that hasn't ripped his field right and hasn't farmed his field correctly in the springtime or in the wintertime. Even in the winter when the ground hasn't quite frozen, or the spring when the ground's unfreezing, you see the guys that, you can always tell the guys that don't know how to farm, because the water will be standing in their fields and everybody else's water, even in their low spots, are gone because they farmed it correctly. I mean, I've seen some of these guys farm around here. These strawberry guys are from down south, and this is different soil up here. You can't do the same thing here that you do down there. It's a totally different environment. You know, you have to adjust and adapt to the environment that you're in, the soil that you're in. So, but that's the biggest reason, is compaction with the strawberry guys. Some of the hay guys even use these just so they'll plow or rip with it just because they pull better. You know, they just pull harder. Let's see, usually I take the AC compressor off and the condenser and everything on these and pull them back out of the way. I don't know if the battery, I better go take the battery cables off. I don't think the battery cables are off on it. Now this is a cat, it should have a disconnect. I'm drawing a blank. There used to be a disconnect switch on these. Could have swore there was one right here, but I'm not seeing it. Yeah, there used to be one on this post right here, I thought. Nope, the battery cables are still on. We got to get those off. If you don't know where the batteries are on a Challenger, on an old Challenger, I know you guys probably saying, well, that's an old Challenger. I'd pick this thing any day over one of those new MT series Challenger track machines. Those things are horrible. Absolutely horrible. Everybody that bought them around here, well, let's put it this way. So, we had an ag dealer for AGCO, which was supposed to be Peterson Cat, and I don't know what happened there. They lost it, or sold it or something, and now it belongs to Holt. So Holt Ag Solutions, they moved over to the old, there used to be a Les Schwab tire dealer over in Hatfield, and they built their own building. They were that building actually belonged to someone else, and then they put that building in Merrill, so they built a tire store right there across from Pape John Deere there in Merrill. Well, I get along with the John Deere Pape store really, really well, and anyhow, Marty, the head, he kind of runs the service department. He called me and he said, hey, we've got 3 Challengers that were took on trade-in, and they got a bunch of codes in them, and we don't have any software to read them with, and we can't, I don't know. He said that they called the cat dealer, or the Challenger AGCO dealer, which is responsible for those, but they called them 6 weeks. See, we called them 6 weeks ago, and they never showed up. And he said, we gotta do something because we're gonna take them to an auction. Do you have the software? I said, yeah, I've got a Texa unit that'll read a majority of the stuff on it. I said, but it won't. Some of those controllers are proprietary to CAT and AGCO that I can't get into, but I can read the engine controller and the transmission controller for certain. And they wanted me to just erase as many codes as I could, and I just told them there's a few that aren't coming. You know, there's a few codes there that there ain't going to be much we can do with them. So anyways, that's all of them Challengers. I was telling you, everybody's trading them in. Nobody wants them. And those Challengers that they took on trade, I bet those things have been sitting there for 2 years over there at John Deere because nobody wants them. Everybody's buying green ones. And there's a bunch of guys on here that hate John Deere's, but I don't know. I like John Deere. So then what I did is took the condenser and unbolted it and flopped it over here is what I did. That way when I took the AC compressor and I laid everything back there on the step. Okay. Well, we could keep the refrigerant charge in it. We don't have to mess with that. But, shit, what the hell was I saying? Scatterbrain. Something else just kind of crossed my mind. I got a water truck for one of the nurseries. I went and looked at it this morning, and most of that kind of stuff they usually do. But their head guy, a Mexican guy named Tomas, hell of a good guy. Hard worker, pretty good mechanic too. I guess he was tying down he's their truck driver too. And he was chaining down a load, or no, I think he was unchaining it. And one of them old breakover binders, chain binders, popped back, hit him in the mouth. Now I guess it broke his jaw, really screwed him up bad. He's out for a while, Mike said. That's why I like I like the newer style screw binders. I've had a couple close calls. I know a couple guys that were tying down, tarping loads of hay, trucking, and bungee cords broke. Well, I know one guy knocked his eye out, bungee cord. You know what? The guy that knocked his eye out with the bungee cord, he still works every day. He just got one eye. He didn't say, "Oh, that's enough. I can't do anything anymore. I need a check." A lot of people like that. Seems like they sure throw their hands up real easy when something bad happens. I was watching a special on TV the other day. This gal, she had no arms. Kind of like the Andy, what's his name? Andy there from Harmless Farmer. I mean, this gal didn't have no arms, and she just did everything me and you do. She had a pilot's license. They made special controls for her to fly the plane with her feet, and and I like that. There's no quit in them. Sometimes it's easier just to pull the bracket, loosen the belt, take it off, of course. Just take the whole darn thing and roll it back. And just set her back here on the step like so. Condenser is right here. Okay, we're getting a little bit closer. Alright, so I've got ready to get the filtered, this other filtered head off of here. Throttle cable off, blow by tube. All right. Now I can get window or coolant level. What am I thinking? Thinking window washer fluid tank. I know why I'm thinking that, because I just got done with that ISX doing that fan clutch rebuilding this morning. I've got the. I remember having to take the hose off this morning and it draining everywhere and making a mess. And now I've got coolant or window washer fluid on the brain. Oops, she's got a little bit of. That's got diesel fuel in it. I don't think it'd be as simple as a cracked injector cup, because I asked him. I said, was there fuel coming out of the? Well, we'll see here in a minute. It's on top of the piston. I don't think it's a cup. Now, we used to have these things were kind of notorious for injector cup cracking, and then you would get fuel in the water. That's what we always ran into, and I still have that tool too. I had a tool that I could, if the bushing was in spec, or the copper in the cylinder head was in spec, I could ream it and then reseat the injector and it was fine. But if they cracked, most of the time they didn't crack. Most of the time they just leaked around the cup where the injector seats in it, and then you could ream it and then reseat the injector and they'd seal up. But if it cracked them, then yeah, they would. If they cracked, they still push the water out, which I don't think it is the way it's acting and pushing. If he got it hot, more than likely he either cracked the head or he blew the head gasket. Because it's actually hydroed right now, is what he said. So let's get these two loose here. You know, and I'd talk a little bit about something here. I don't want to sound like a jerk, but I've had a couple guys calling me that I don't really know them very well, but one guy called me. He's kind of wanting me to like re-ring his tractor or something, you know. I said, I'm not re-ringing your tractor. If I'm going to tear your tractor apart, I'm going to do it right. You know, and you're just kind of skeptical about those kind of guys. You don't want to get in there because, geez, you know, they want to half-ass it together. And I don't want to do it. I just kind of try to help. I hate to sound like a jerk, just try to stay away from it. I don't want to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. Throttle linkage, throttle cable, I guess I should say. Tool shut off solenoid. Alright, I'm trying to remember what. I gotta take this one here and loose this line. And then this line goes around to the other side, but it won't go with the pump though. That's loose. Gotta get this line here loose. Right. Okay, so on these Challengers, or the 3116s I should say, let me find a screwdriver. There's a little clip right here. Oh, you gotta pull this clip out. Okay, and then what you do, clean some of the shit off of it. Let me get it brake clean. What I do is I grab it with a pair of pliers and kind of work it back and forth. And there's a sleeve there, and that sleeve will slide back into the head. See, I got that sleeve slid back. And then there's a pin that runs the rack. And these can be really a lot of fun here. Well, all you're looking at is my back, but there's a pin that runs the rack. Once you get that pin out of there, and you're probably going to lose the E-clip or C-clip or whatever the hell they call it, and then what you'll do is pull the mounting bolts loose there and pull the pump out of it. Over here a little bit better. Okay, so here's that link. I got it bent a little bit, that pin. I've never had, usually those pins just slide right out of there. I had to tap that one out and it bent that link a little bit, so we're going to have to straighten that out before we go back together with it. And here, right here is, here's the pin and the clip. There's kind of a little, kind of a Heim joint looking thing right here. See, that's your rack right there. That's moving your rack. Okay, the only thing that I got left here on this side of the head, I can see, I got some grounds right here. Alright, so now I got to get the fan hub and all that stuff off of it. So basically fan hub, you guys know how a fan hub works. No sense in explaining all that, getting that off. When you get this back, the back bolt, you got to get in between the block. You got to get a long extension and a 13mm or a 1/2 inch socket. And this inside bolt's probably about the worst one to get to. I seen a guy one time taking one of these pumps off, and I kept telling him, I said, make sure you pull that rack link pin off there before you unbolt them bolts, or you'll damage the rack link going in there. He just pulled it off and dropped the pump, and he pulled on it, and he bent this link, bent it clear over like that, and I'm like, tank on these tractors sits back here, and I call it an upside down L tank. It's shaped like an L, but it's upside down, and the top of it comes out about in here, and you got to pull the, I mean, I've run the overheads on these before with this. It ain't fun, but it can be done. That the rocker got loose on one of our, we had a 55 Challenger with a 3126 mechanical in it, and one of the operators called me one day and he said, hey man, this thing's knocking and there's oil all over everything, engine oil. I said, okay, well, shut it off, because I did. I went out there and there was a push rod sticking right out the top of the valve cover. And that's back in the old days when I worked for the company, and you know what I did? Put the push rod in the vise, straightened it out, took the valve cover up to the shop where the aluminum MIG welder was, and I welded the hole back up in it, put the push rod back in it, readjusted the rocker on it, and away we went. Never touched it again. Alright, let me see if I can get you a little view of the rack here. Okay, here's your link here. I don't know if you can see that moving. That's your rack in there. You'll be able to see it pretty good once we get the rockers off. So, probably a good idea to just go ahead and back all the rocker adjusters off right now. I'm trying to remember what size they were. These are metric, I'm pretty certain they are. One thing that always gets, I bet you that's what happened right there. I bet the water pump belt was slipping on it and it got hot. Water pump belt is really loose, and I bet they were pulling hard. It's a belt-driven water pump on these, and I bet you that's what happened. I bet you that water pump belt got loose. Got hot on him. It wasn't turning fast enough. On one of these 3116s, 3126 mechanicals. It's kind of a, I don't know, not really, it's just everything you do on one of these 31, they made a 3114. I've only worked on one of those. That was years ago. Haven't seen one since. 3116s and 3126s, I've worked on a ton of them. But, I don't know. They're not getting to be where there's that many around anymore. So let's go with 13 millimeter. Pull all the rockers off. Damn it! I forgot to put my fucking mic on there. All right, guys. I'll have to do a voiceover for that part of the audio. I can tell that already because I know the audio is going to suck. I never was quite sure. They always put it in the same spot, so I always put it in the same spot back, but there's a cat part number here. I always just put them back in the same spot. I never really knew what it was for, but maybe somebody out there does. I never needed it. I've had, I think, four of these I've out of frame rebuilt from bottom to top, and I've never needed that tag with that number. Maybe that's got something to do with cat and fuel dimensions or something. Alright, so I'm going to pick up a set of these and I got to go lay them on the bench. Pull the push rods. Yeah, you guys will get a kick out of this when I synchronize the injectors. It's something else. They're time consuming engine to work on. Now you'll be able to see here in a little bit. I'll show you a better view of the rack setup. Alright, now we can get a little better view of the rack setup. There's a little helix in there on the nozzle, on the injector, and that just indexes that helix for more or less fuel. And all these adjusters right here that's how you synchronize your injectors, and there's a special tool group for that. So right now what we got to do is pull this line right here. That's your, let's see, that's your air fuel ratio line right there, I think, if I remember right. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it's coming through the intake, I thought. I can't remember if that's the air fuel ratio line. I think it is. Bolt right here, bolt right here. So I got to pull this rocker box off, and it'll actually pull the intake. I got to take the ground strap loose here for the grid heater. It's got an intake grid heater on it. Every one of these intake ports is full of water. Pretty impressive, huh? Every one of them is. Well, what I got to do now is, the easiest thing to do on the rack setup for now is just unbolt it here. There's an Allen head bolt here. There's another one here. Another one here. Another one here. Pull the rack off of it. And then what I'm going to try to do, see if I can find a block drain and drain, see if I can drain the block down. Gotta be a block drain. Let me see what I can do here. This has to come off too. I need to unbolt this, and then you can unbolt this here and flop it over. The fuel is going to go down in the hole. Another thing a guy can do, I think last time I sucked those out pretty good, but we'll see what happens here. It's going to go down the first one, basically. Most of the fuel is going to go down the first one you pull. You can see the coppers right there when you pull them. And I'm just popping them out, and then I'll grab 3 or 4 at once and go put them on the bench. That one was already standing. I'm thinking that might be our problem hole right there. Because none of the other ones were, the other ones you pulled them and you could see it running down in there, and that one was clear to the top already. So number 3, that's the general area we need to be looking in. Yeah, number 3 appears to be our problem child. Let's see if I can get this light in a better spot here. Yep, number 3. Because that's antifreeze. And my darn air hose has got a leak in it now. Dang it. Gotta get a new air hose. It'll work for now, though. I'm gonna find my throttle blower. What the hell did I do with it? What in the hell did I do with that? Alright, we're having technical difficulties right now. Alright, so I got to rig up a hose that's smaller. It'll go down where the injector tip went. My flat blade screwdriver. And this hose is holding me up here. Most of the time they just pop off there. This one ain't doing it. There it goes. I have never seen one blow the firing into like that before. Okay, here's the water. There's the water jacket right there. Here's the fire ring. It was number 6, furthest one away from the water. That's an indication that you got it really freaking hot. And then what it is, it flooded the exhaust manifold, and then it ran across the intake valves when it flooded the exhaust manifolds and came clear up across the top of the pistons. If the intake valves weren't seating up all the way perfectly, they'd run across the intake valves back into the intake manifold and fill the intake ports up. So, or if the intake valve was open. So right now it's looking like a head gasket. The cylinders, I might run a ball hone down in there and just cross-hatch them a little bit. They're wanting to use this thing for spud harvest. I mean, it's next week. And that, I mean, there's the cross-hatches. They still look pretty good in it. So I might just cross-hatch it. I'm going to talk to the owner. I know him. He'll want to just, if it's a head gasket, straight edge the head. Let's make sure it ain't warped. I cleaned it off over here, and I didn't see anything right off that was detrimental to what we're going to do here. Here's number 6 right here. And it kind of has a different color. It's hard to tell with this. It's kind of got a rust look to it, and the rest of them don't have that. And you kind of see, it's almost like you can kind of see where it blew across right here. See how you got this rust ridge around it where the fire ring was, and it's not right here. The rest of them aren't affected by that at all. Yeah, they really did a good job blowing the head gasket on that one. Okay, I gotta give the owner a call and let him know what I found. I might get some new head bolts too for it. I'm getting nervous when you lose a head gasket that the head bolts have stretched because they got so hot. Yeah, that's a good one there. How about the other side of it? What's it look like? Yeah. Man. That's a good one. Blew that damn fire ring right in two. Wow. Everything else looks pretty good though. These engines they're tough son of a guns, man. 13,000 hours, I mean, all you can do is put a head gasket on it and warranty it if he's in a hurry for it. The right thing to do would be to, 13,000 hours, you might as well rebuild it while you're here. And I don't feel any step here where the carbon, if you wipe the carbon away, I don't feel a step there, so I don't think the cylinder taper is going to be bad. You could probably, I've done 3 or 4 of them to where we've put new pistons on them and new rings, and we just honed the shit out of them, put them back together. No problem. They don't use oil, nothing. So anyway, well, let me get a hold of this guy.